In 2015, a man named Jonathan Black opened a company called Barworks with three men named Sam Aura, James Moore, and Renwick Robert Haddow. Haddow would name Jonathan Black as the company's CEO, and together, these men would commit a $57 million Ponzi scheme through the Barworks company. But why would Haddow name someone else as CEO rather than himself? Both were British citizens with extensive financial backgrounds and were interested in scamming people. In fact, both of them were also 50-year-old bald men who lived in New York. Jonathan Black and Renwick Robert Haddow were the same person. Do you see where this is going? Throughout Haddow's life, he had been trying to get plans off the ground. In 2001, he struck a deal with publishers at Cosmopolitan to create a string of venues that would combine beauty treatments, bars, and coffee shops. He claimed that they'd have at least 20 outlets within 2 years. In the end, they opened one in Manchester, England, and the location didn't reach their financial target. Haddow's business closed shortly afterward, despite telling investors that business was booming. Shareholders lost their money, and the company left over $2 million in debt. Haddow then was banned as a director in 2008. In 2003, Haddow owned a business that invested in a glow-in-the-dark plastics project. This also ended up with lawsuits in the UK courts. Although Haddow was banned from being a director, that didn't stop him from rebranding himself as a consultant. By 2015, Haddow had become connected to 30 different investment schemes. In 2009, he posted promotional videos showing he had created a large rice production farm in Sierra Leone. He had at least 1,000 investors, but the issue was that they were paying for more land than Haddow had actually owned. By the time Britain discovered the scheme, he had stolen over $8 million. While the investigation was taking place for the Sierra Leone scheme, Haddow was in jail for another scheme. In 2015, Renwick Robert Haddow, under the name Jonathan Black, started a company called Barworks with Sam Aura and James Moore. Barworks was a company that used old bars and restaurants and turned them into shared office spaces in New York. Here, victims could enter into a leaseback investment where they spend at least $25,000 to buy a workspace and lease it back to Barworks for 10 years. If that sounds confusing, don't worry, it's because it is. Let's put it into simpler terms. Barworks owns a restaurant. They sell a portion of the restaurant to an investor for $25,000. Then they get into a leaseback agreement where Barworks pays the investor monthly to use that part of the restaurant as office space over 10 years. The benefit to this was that Barworks promised a 14% return on each investment. That means that Barworks would pay $3,500 annually for 10 years, and the investor would walk out of the agreement with a $10,000 profit. Let's compare this to a company called WeWork. WeWork is a company that owns many buildings across the globe and rents out spaces to people or companies to use as office space. They brand themselves as trendy places where customers can go and network while they work. There's no investment involved, and the customers renting the sites are going and using it. WeWork doesn't give an opportunity to be scammed. On the other hand, Barworks was selling leases for more workspaces than they actually owned. Then, when it came time to pay, they asked for extensions due to productive restructuring. The delays in payments eventually led to no payments at all. Investors started getting suspicious of Barworks, but it was too late by that point. In 2016, Barworks announced that it would transform Britain's old-school telephone boxes into tiny workspaces. Each booth would have a 25-inch monitor, a wireless keyboard, a scanner, a printer, and free coffee. For only around $23 a month, you could use these pods if you worked on the go. They expected at least 10,000 members by the end of that year. This never came to light because in June of 2017, investors had started claiming that Barworks was a Ponzi scheme. Now, you might be wondering how so many people were able to be scammed. Indeed, they could have seen that the locations they were purchasing were non-existent. Barworks had been presenting itself to be highly profitable with each new site, even though locations had started closing rapidly. On top of that, one of Haddow's co-founders co-founder, Sam-Aura, made sure to reach investors who couldn't verify the location's existence. Sam-Aura, or Savraj Gata-Aura, was another man with an extensive background in scamming. Sam-Aura was the alias that Savraj used. Before Barworks, he had worked for a UK company called Park First, an investment company having to do with airport car parking spaces. In 2017, the Financial Conduct Authority shut down Park First because it was an unauthorized collective investment scheme. When he moved to the US, he purchased a parking lot in North Carolina, convincing the owners to give him a $1.3 million loan for the property. He advertised the lot as part of his parking investment business, promising 12% yearly return. He has since shut down the parking lot due to the COVID epidemic, blaming the decrease in flyers for the decline in the need for parking. He now owes the original owners $1 million for the loan they gave him. In Barworks, his primary role was to attract investors from countries outside of the US because they wouldn't be able to see the workplace stations. He also contributed to creating and sending out documents stating the false financial situation of the company, as well as helping Jonathan Black conceal his true identity. Gata-Aura and Haddow were aware of the aliases they used while working together. Now let's talk about the third co-founder, Mr. James Moore. Although he was the only one who didn't use an alias, he was arguably the biggest liar out of the three. Before Barworks, Moore had worked with Haddow previously on a hotel investment scheme in 2009. This scheme involved hotels in Prague and Morocco where investors could buy shares and stay in a free room at the hotel throughout the year. The company later went into liquidation, losing all the money investors had spent, and the Financial Conduct Authority caught them, and Haddow was eventually sued. In 2015, Moore had approached Haddow again, looking to partner for the Barworks scam. Here, Moore did the same things that Gata-Aura did, and he helped find investors from other countries, created fake financial documents, and helped Haddow hide the fact that he was Jonathan Black. In 2016, Moore went on a recorded phone interview with the SEC claiming that Jonathan Black was a real person, despite knowing that Black was just an alias for Haddow. Moore said he had never asked to speak with Black, even though he represented to multiple agents that he was working closely with him. In 2017, in a videotaped interview with the IRS, Moore claimed that he hadn't done anything for money since 2010, even though he had received $1.3 million from Barworks alone. Some people have considered Moore to be the mastermind behind the entire Barworks Ponzi scheme, since he was the one who contacted Haddow. It wasn't like Moore had no idea who he was working with. He had previously worked with Haddow and made the conscious decision to do it again. In 2016, at the height of the US investigation, Haddow and his wife Zoya Kiselova went on their honeymoon. She was also suspected of being a part of the scam by Chinese investors. According to the evidence, she only had one statement on her Facebook that involved the Barworks company. However, she did have a post including a picture of Jordan Belfort, the self-proclaimed Wolf of Wall Street. Her post was about an event he was speaking at in 2014. She wrote that their team did a good job inviting him to London. The post also stated that the night's theme was about the truth behind success. Together, these three men, and potentially woman, scammed over 800 investors and received over $57 million. One victim, a 32-year-old named Jocelyn Houghton, invested $50,000 after her financial advisor recommended the company. He claimed that Barworks seemed functional and trustworthy after hearing from multiple sources, including his business partner, that the company was thriving. Jocelyn said she had received a few months' worth of payments before they stopped coming in. When she asked where the payments were, she would hear many excuses. Eventually, she looked up Barworks, and to her horror, she saw that it was a scam. Jocelyn would have used her earnings to finally buy a house, but now she has nothing. Many victims lose their retirement money or money they save for their children's tuition. All of them were put into a financial situation that would take many years to fix. Another victim had lost $500,000 due to the Barworks scam. Due to stress, his wife even gave birth to their daughter 5 weeks early. They were also hoping to buy a house with their earnings, only to be left with nothing. Once investors started getting suspicious of Barworks, they started filing many lawsuits. As we saw with the interviews that Moore participated in, the government sought evidence to prove that Barworks was illegitimate. It wasn't until Moore was convicted for a separate property investment crime in Florida that they were able to arrest Gata-Aura and Haddow for this crime. Once they tried to arrest Haddow, they realized he was being kept prisoner in Morocco. Haddow had been arrested for, you guessed it, another fraud case. He had started a new Bitcoin store company Money, an online platform where people could buy, store, and sell their digital currency. Here he had planned to use investor money to pay his cold callers. This wasn't revealed to the investors. While cold callers claimed that Bitcoin Store had a turnover of over $5.5 million, in reality, the bank account only had a little over $400. Gata-Aura had already been arrested. Haddow was extradited from Morocco to the United States in 2018 for his court hearing. The years of karma had been building for these men who were about to receive punishment. In June of 2019, James Moore pled guilty to the Barworks crime and was sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison. In addition, he would have 3 years of supervised release and have to pay over $57 million in restitution, forfeit $1.5 million, and pay a fine of $50,000. Savraj Gata-Aura also pled guilty to the Ponzi scheme. In July of 2020, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Upon release, he'll have 3 years of supervised release. Aura was ordered to pay almost $40 million in restitution and forfeit nearly $3 million. As for Renwick Robert Haddow, the face of the Barworks scheme, pled guilty in March of 2019. His sentence date was set for October that year and has been rescheduled several times. In April 2022, it was rescheduled again for October. While it's nice to see 2 of the culprits already put behind bars, we can only hope that come October, we see Haddow receiving a sentence along with restitution requirements for all the people he's taken advantage of these years. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section if you think Social Security is an actual scam by the government or not.